being in a tech ecosystem, we don't have a lot of women. For me to be here is proof that women can do it, women can be leaders, and I hope to inspire other women, especially young African women, to be bold and courageous, follow their passions, and when they're offered that seat at the table, to take it and take the front seat at changing the African narrative.
Since I joined Impact Africa Network, my thinking has really been expanded. I now for sure believe that if I put my mind and time into something, I can bring life-changing ideas into fruition.
The culture at IAN encourages continual learning. This makes someone to source for outlets for learning, opportunities for growth in order to continually ensure that they do the best at their job. Also working with Mark, who has this great vision for changing the African narrative. He wants to take us on that journey with him. Pushes you to the limit, pushes you to want to be better.
My thinking has changed from looking for problems to being a solution provider. That way, I will stop worrying and actually do something.
I really enjoy being a leader and at the same time being a student. At Impact Africa Network, there's a lot of continuous learning and development. So it gives you this hunger for knowledge. It pushes you to be the best possible version of yourself, because you cannot change the African narrative being anything less.
At Impact Africa Network, we bet on the women. We believe women are much more effective at leading and nurturing complex people-centric systems, and startups are the quintessential people-centric systems of our day.
As the Women of Impact Africa Network, we will be hosting a live cast series with global female leaders and change makers, having conversations with the intent of inspiring a new generation of female leaders just like ourselves. If you or someone you know should be part of this conversation, we would love to host you. Talk to us.
You can also be a change maker by helping us create more leadership opportunities for women by donating today. IAN is a registered U.S. non-profit charitable entity under Section 501c3.
Season 2, Episode 3. Really excited. Welcome to all of our audience. This is part 2 of Women Lifecast series brought to you by Impact Africa Network. And we are a non-profit startup studio in Nairobi on a mission to ensure that talented participants get to participate in the digital transformation of Africa as creators and owners. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of this. This is a belief that has stemmed from our CEO at Impact Africa, all through in how we run our business at Impact Africa. And we believe that women are very essential to the businesses that we build. And that's because they are good at handling people, they're intuitive, and they're good at nurturing complex people-centric systems. Welcome. Today I'll be joined by my co-host, Joy Ndinda. She'll come to the stage.
Hi, Phyllis. Good morning.
Hi, morning to you
California?
too. California is cold, but really beautiful. Yeah.
It's so strange that today we are in different locations. Phyllis is in California. I'm in Nairobi. It's a beautiful evening, though it looks like it's about to pour down. But yeah, we are grateful for the rains. It's a very, very special episode of BTOW today. We have a very, very special guest, Miss Debra Lee. But before I bring her on stage, let me tell you a little bit about her, or rather a lot, because she's an icon. So she's the first and only woman to receive a Grammy salute to the Industry Icons Award on behalf of all her contributions to American music and culture. During her 30-plus career years as a career woman, she has been regarded as one of America's most respected business executives. She has also been inducted into the Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame and American Advertising Hall of Fame. Debra Lee she led the BET networks to become the largest global company dedicated to African American programming. And by her retirement in 2018, BET had reached 100 million homes globally. One of those homes being my home, of course. Miss Lee has defined what it is to be a leader in her 3 decades in leadership roles. She saw BET become the first African American company to be traded on the New York Stock Exchange. And she also oversaw BET being acquired by the media giant Viacom for $3 billion in 2001. And today, BET is the leading provider of all Black entertainment, not only for Black Americans, but for Black culture consumers worldwide. Since 2010, she's organized a Leading Women Defined Summit, which is an annual invitation-only gathering for most prominent African American women. Her summits have included such luminaries as the First Lady Michelle Obama and Senator now Vice President Kamala Harris. Miss Lee is now serving as a director at the boards of AT&T, Burberry Group, Marriott International, and Procter & Gamble. Her barrier-breaking journey to the corner office and C-suite and different ranks of industry power players is proof that you can do anything that you put your mind to. And she's here today to share her lessons from the C-suite, valuable insights on diversity and inclusion, her passion for empowering women and people of color. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you an icon, Miss Debra Lee.
Hi. So happy to be here. Thank you, Phyllis, and thank you, Joy, for having me today. I think it's evening.
Hey, welcome to the show, Miss Lee.
Thank you. Joy, is it evening where you are?
Yes, it is for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's early in the morning in California, and it's raining here also.
Yeah, it's a bit different for me. I didn't actually expect it would be raining, but yeah, we can get right into it. Thank you so much, Miss Lee, for taking the time to do this with us. We never take it for granted, especially having someone of your caliber take time to teach us your ways. We young African women upcoming in different sectors, but in our particular case in the innovation space in Africa, which is really booming right now with young talent. And it's very important that we prepare ourselves, especially as the young women, to take up the opportunity and to lead and to show the world that what can come out of Africa is better. So I'll go right into it, and that will be just letting you, I know Joy has done a tremendous job in introducing you, but maybe you have something else you want to let us know about yourself, let our audience know about yourself, apart from the big bio that you have of all your accomplishments, which is really admirable. Go ahead, Miss Lee.
Thank you. Well, the longer you stay in the business world, the longer the bio gets. But I had a fabulous career at BET Networks. I started as general counsel, vice president and general counsel in 1986. So I was the first in-house lawyer at the company, and I have watched its growth over now 35 years. I've been gone from BET for 3 years, but it was a wonderful experience. I was CEO for 13 years. And, I had my head down working, trying to put on the best programming possible for our audience. And it wasn't until I stepped down 3 years ago that I realized that I'm still a unicorn, that there are not enough women CEOs and Black women CEOs. So we have a lot of work to do. And that's what I devote my life to now, helping women grow and move further up the corporate ladder, helping women get on corporate boards, which I think is very important, and mentoring young women. It's really what I enjoy doing. So it's so great to be speaking to Africa and to the young women of Africa. So thank you so much for having me. I should also add, I'm a mother of 2 children, which I'm very proud of. I get a lot of questions on how you balance workplace and family life. I'm not married. So, it's been a great career. It's not the one I expected. But I've learned to love business and love serving on boards. I'm still, as you heard, on 4 boards. So it's a really fascinating time for me.
Fantastic. 13 years. That's such a long time. First of all, congratulations.
Yeah.
It is a long
Again,
time.
I didn't know it until I retired, and everyone was like, 13 years. Most CEOs don't last 4 years. I was like, I guess I did pretty well.
Yeah, I'd like to dig deeper into that. What made you stay? I know you probably didn't notice time was moving those 13 years. And number two, why do you think it's important to have women take leadership positions? I'm going to give context, which is what I was trying to do at the beginning. For us at Impact Africa, our model is that we believe that we're going to bring women to lead the startups that we build. And that's because we believe women are better at nurturing complex people-centric systems. But I want to hear from you, why do you think it's important for women to be leaders, especially in the business world?
Yeah, well, I'll answer the first question. I think I stayed at BET as long as I did because the job and the company was always changing. You know, when I joined the company, it was a small cable network. We had about 10 million subscribers. By the time I left, as you heard, we had over 100 million subscribers, global distribution, and we're in a lot of different businesses. We have BET Her, which is our BET's network devoted to women. We have BET Plus, which is the streaming service, and there's a digital aspect. So my job was never boring. It changed from day to day, whether we were opening restaurants or trying to make movies or just grow the brand. Now to your second question, which I found to be very true, is that women bring so much to a business. I know when I first became COO, the majority of my senior team were men. And I found that I needed women to even that testosterone out, to bring in more people-centric management, to have more compassion in the room, to have, equal or more smarts. I mean, women are as smart or smarter than men. And I think we just need to give women more opportunities. So when I hear that you're focusing on female opportunities, I think that's very exciting. And I think we add so much to the room, and it really changes the dynamics.
Oh, fantastic. I'd like to know how that played out. But before we get there, you made such an interesting move, which most people don't do, especially where I come from in Africa, because we are all grappling or struggling to get that corporate job and move faster. So you left a big corporate and you joined a smaller organization at the time. How was that? What triggered that decision? Because that could be seen as dangerous, or people like you were doing better. And how was the transition?
Yeah, it was considered very risky. I was at a 200-person law firm, but I never wanted to practice law. I went to law school because everyone said you could do a lot of different things with a legal background. So I thought I was going into government. Then Ronald Reagan won, and I didn't want to go into a Republican administration. So I went to a law firm to wait until the Democrats came back. Well, it took them 12 years to come back to office. So after 5 years at a law firm, I was bored. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't see myself moving to be partner. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. And BET was a small client, and they needed in-house legal help. And so when I got that opportunity, I just thought it was perfect, even though we didn't have cable in DC at the time, so no one knew what BET was, especially the people at my law firm. They were like, "You're going where?" So it was risky, but I think at a certain point in everyone's life, you have to make risky decisions. You have to say, okay, is this what I really want to do? Do I want to stay on the fast track, even if I don't enjoy it? or do I want to do something that I'm really passionate about and take a chance? And that's what I did. And I always tell the story that my father wasn't very happy when I went to BET. You know, he's like, you got this great wood panel office with
I can imagine.
chandeliers. Why would you want to leave? With the pension?
Yeah.
And I said, you know, Dad, I'm not having fun anymore. And he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, it was supposed to be fun. They wouldn't call it work. And that was his attitude. And he had been a career military man. So he didn't have a lot of fun on his job. But I thought work should be satisfying and you should be passionate about it. So it turned out to be the right move for me.
Fantastic. It's interesting you say that, because within our program, the Innovation Fellowship program, a lot of people can relate to that story where generation from our parents don't understand people taking a risk to build things, to be in a space where you're building, where it's not the quote unquote safe career path, corporate career, because they knew a different thing. It worked for them for their time. Right. But in our time, we need people to be in the innovation space, especially in our market. We need people, we need Africans to solve problems, and can only be solved by the young people, which is what we're doing at Impact Africa Network. I want to find out, so recently, like I mentioned, we believe in giving women leadership opportunities early in the startups we create. And we are actually living it out right now. Our first startup recently, maybe 2 weeks ago, announced its first CEO, and it's a woman. So we're really excited about.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we're really excited about that, because we are living it. It's organically happening. We're not even forcing it. She just came at the right time, did the right things, proved herself, and now she's doing it. Her name is Wendy Olwuch. And for the sake of people, of the women who are going to be taking up executive positions in our market, what would you tell someone who's taking up such a position for the first time, position of CEO? How was it for you? What would you be your advice coming from your experience? But also, when you look at it in our day and time, what should people be keen on? Yeah,
I would say, first of all, don't be afraid. You know, it's men aren't afraid. They're willing to take risk, and they're not afraid of failure. So don't be afraid. You know, you'll always have some failures in business, but they're usually not life and death situations, and you can recover from them. And a lot of times you just write it off. Whatever you invested into that company, if it didn't work, you write it off. So it's not the end of the world. And there's always the next opportunity. And I think especially in entrepreneurial times like we're in now, and especially in Africa, I mean, I'm so excited to see the number of women starting businesses, you know, Africa being an amazing platform for technology and resources, natural resources. And so it's exciting to me to see what's happening there. So I would say, if it's something you're interested in, get out there and do it. You know, it's not, it's doable. It's doable. So many people do it, whether they have the background in business or not. If they have a great idea, they get out there and try it. Yeah. And then I would say, listen to your own voice. Don't let people around you make decisions for you. You know, listen to advice, listen to research, you know, pay attention to your financials and what you can afford to do and what you can't. But when it's all said and done, as CEO, it's your decision. And you're going to be held responsible whether it's successful or not.
Yeah.
So you might as well do it your way, so you're not relying on someone else who's not going to get the blame or the glory.
It's taking the responsibility. That's fantastic. What I'll take away is doing it unafraid. I think we, as women, we tell ourselves this a lot, because it's true. Men just do it. I don't know where they get that, but we need to culture ourselves to doing it unafraid. I want to talk a bit more about the BET business, both now and when you were the CEO, and how you thought about the African market, because BET is for the Black people, but I don't know if you saw a niche in the African market, and what you did about it, or what should be done, because I feel like there's a lot of talent here that can be tapped into in Africa. Okay, right, in Africa, especially in the entertainment industry. So what was the plan there? Yeah.
Well, we didn't see it as a niche. We saw it as a big continent with lots of potential viewers. So I think it was 1995 when we finally launched on MultiChoice in South Africa. And I was on the trip where we made that deal. And it was so exciting to know that, you know, there was this continent full of Black people, and there are Black people all over the world. And so we were producing programming that we thought would be interesting. And we hoped to, after we got started, to do more local programming. Unfortunately, when we first launched in Africa, we didn't have copyright to all the shows we were showing in the US. We didn't have the ability to show it in Africa. So what we did, we took our jazz channel where we were producing a lot of the programming ourselves. And that was what we first launched in South Africa, Bet on Jazz. And it's not what the consumers wanted. They're like, yeah, this is nice, but this is not the BET I see when I go to America. Why can't you bring the real BET to Africa? And so it took us years to get to the point where we had enough programming that we were producing with, you know, BET Awards and Being Mary Jane and The Game and all the shows, 106 in Park, all the shows that the consumers in Africa wanted. And we were able to bring that to Africa. In the meantime, MultiChoice dropped us because our ratings were horrible when we had Bet on Jazz. So we were off of MultiChoice for many years. So we started trying to sell BET programming in other markets, in other countries, and that worked. And then finally, MultiChoice was convinced that we had new programming, and they let us back on. So I would say now we're probably in most of Africa. At least I hope we are. I'm glad to know we're in Joy's house. But you know, it's hard when you go to a different country, or the country has a different language, and you have to pay to have it, you know, transcribed and put in their language. And so our global distribution was slow at first. You know, we had people out there selling it, but we had to do the subtitles. We had to understand what the local people in those countries were interested in, because they didn't want, you know, and you all have probably seen this with other networks, they didn't want us to just bring in American programming. They wanted us, you know, to understand what was happening in Africa. Then the other problem we had recently before I left was that we would delay some of the programming. Like with BET Awards, it may come on 3 days later in Africa. And with social media, you know, the consumers knew it. So they're like, well, why can't we get the programming at the same time? You know, why do we have to see Being Mary Jane late? So that took us a while to really get the production down and the distribution to a point where it worked all the time. So I say all that to say we were always very excited about being distributed in Africa. It just took us a while to get to the place where we were one of the top rated networks there.
What about having actually shows or content that is from Africa within BT? How did you plan that?
Yeah. Well, we aired some African shows on BET, some of the soap operas. They didn't do as well as we would like. Now Netflix is doing a lot of that. And of course, they have a streaming platform that's as huge as they want it to be. They have room for everything. We're just a 24-hour network. So we had to manage our day in the US. Or have a separate feed for Africa, which I think we eventually did have. We now have a separate feed, so I'm sure they're showing African programming. But that was something we wanted to do from the beginning. It's just was a question of how would the programming do in the U.S. and could we do two separate feeds? So again, it's there are a lot of Africans in the U.S., and we have something called the Africa Channel, which I'm sure maybe you've heard about. And so it's, trying to get a feel for what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of very high potential in terms of consuming, and especially if BT was able to tap into that in the African market and
Right.
be able to show content that's from here. I think that's a very big market for you guys. I know now you're a bit removed from it, but something to consider. Generally, right now, Africa is at a very high growth stage in all industries.
Right.
Yeah, especially when you look at Nigeria, followed by Kenya. But anyway, that's enough about the BT business. So you left BT and now you founded Monarchs Collective to pursue something that you saw as important when it comes to helping women access or grow into leadership positions, especially in the C-suite. So when did you decide that you were going to start Monarchs Collective? Was it before you left or after you left?
It was about 2 years after I left, and it was actually right after George Floyd's murder.
Oh, that's recent.
We were all asking ourselves, how could this still happen? What can we do to change our world? How can we give Black people more wealth? How can we get them into rooms that they've never been in before so that white people could get to know them better, and hopefully this wouldn't happen again. So that's when my partner and I, Rabia Deland Long, started talking, and she was an executive coach for me at BET. She coached a lot of my executives. So I knew she knew how to work with C-suite executives. And so we started the company to change the complexion of corporate boards and C-suites. Because, you may know that after George Floyd's murder, so many companies said, we believe in Black Lives Matter. They gave money to National Urban League or to Black colleges. There was a lot of support for the Black community during this time. And young people said, well, if you're that committed to Black Lives Matter, why are there no Black people on your board? Why are there no Black people in your C-suite? Why are there no women? So companies who were able to hide the fact that they were committed to diversity were no longer able to hide, because young people came forward and said, well, this doesn't make any sense. So I think I saw a number that 3 times as many Black people were put on boards during the past year as the year before, because companies struggled and to find people they wanted to put on the board. And that's one of the things my partner and I said is, well, it's not hard to find competent people of color and women to serve on boards. You just have to really want to do it. And some of the major search firms don't do a great job at it. So we said, well, we'll start a company to find people and then to coach the company and the individuals as how to come together and welcome new board members and change the culture. So it's been fascinating. And some of the younger companies, especially like the new startups, really get it. And so we're doing a lot of great work. We just did a board masterclass for 20 women of color, to teach them what serving on a board entails. And it's amazing. If you've never done it, you don't know what's involved. And if you get an opportunity to go on the board, your first board meeting might be a little terrifying. So we try to reduce that anxiety and make sure that the board members are successful and the companies know how to get them into the real work of a board.
Oh, fantastic. I know you've mentioned a bit about it, but what has been the traction so far? You just started recent. That must have been 2019, right?
Yes.
Yes. What has been the traction so far? I know you've mentioned younger startups are appreciating it more, but is there more you can tell us to it, like numbers, how many you've placed so far?
Yeah, no, we've only placed one person so far, but we have a lot in the pipeline. Okay. And we just need more companies to hire us. and maybe some African companies will hire us. I know I talked to a company in Africa a couple of years ago about serving on their board, and I was very excited about it, but they had to postpone it. They were a cell phone tower company. So I know there are a lot of opportunities there. So hopefully some companies in Africa will reach out. But we've had lots of conversations, and, you know, we're a consulting service. So we just have to convince the companies to hire us. The pipeline is full. And so if someone called us today, we could give them 5 potential candidates. So it's just a matter of making sure they want to do the work and they're committed to it.
To get it. Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic model, I must say. I haven't seen that anywhere. I mean, I've seen talent sourcing for different things, but not for such a focused and specific thing like accessing talented Black women for leadership positions. That's very amazing.
And it's something I'm just very passionate about. It's what I do. And you mentioned that I started Leading Women Defined 12 years ago, and that's become something that's really very magical. The women look forward to it every year. I keep it small to about 200 women so they can really interact with each other and support each other. Michelle Obama's been twice. You know, Beyonce's mom has been, Tina Knowles. We've had fashion designers and senators, and, you know, it's just a great mix of women. And when you get women together, things get done.
That's true. That's true.
That's very true. And I learned that with my senior team. You know, I could always depend on the women, and most of the men I could depend on also. But something about women, they get things done.
That's
true. Especially when you put them in a group with themselves.
That's true.
They know how each other work, and they also dance all night long. The first year I had the conference, you know, they said, "Oh, we're gonna have a reception tonight or something." So I thought we'd be sitting around chit-chatting. Those women dance with themselves till 2:00 in the morning. No men in the room, and they did not care. They were just dancing. We had a good DJ, and so that's become a tradition. You don't have to wait for a man to ask you to dance. It's Leading Women Defined. We just all run out on the floor and have a good time. And we do master classes, like Sheila E. has been to teach drumming, or Layla Ali came and taught boxing. We have cooking classes. So it's a mixture of fun but serious topics. You know, we talk about what's happening in Haiti, or one year we give a butterfly award every year, and one year we gave it to the CEO of Facebook Africa, and it was great having her there. And, you know, we talked about maybe coming to Africa with a group of women. And
you should do that. You should do that, definitely. We're happy to have you and have host you, especially because this is a subject that's very close home for us, and highlighting women capabilities and what they can do. This would be fantastic.
Well, we'll have to work on that.
Exactly. So I'd like to remind our audience that you can interact with us. If you have a question for Miss Lee on our Twitter handle, which is IN Network Tweets, you can use the hashtag #PowerToWomen or hashtag #WomenLead, and we'll get right into it. I have a question about something, Miss Lee, that you're really passionate about, and you've sort of touched on it just a while back, which is Black wealth. For you, it's very important that Black people create Black wealth, because the truth of the matter, for a very long time in the world, the world has been dominated by the white people, but also white male has been dominated. So why is it important, in your opinion, for Black people to build wealth?
Well, I think it's important, one, for our children, you know, to give them a head start and be able to pass wealth down through the generations. That's something we've never been able to do. And it's also important because it closes the racial inequality. You know, if I can walk into boardrooms or walk into neighborhoods knowing that, you know, I have the same resources, financial resources, as the white people there, it makes it much easier for me to negotiate those environments in those rooms. I think as Black people, especially in America, for a long time, we were afraid to talk about Black wealth. You know, I remember when I first started BET, people used to always say, well, why are you all a for-profit company? Why shouldn't you be a not-for-profit company? It's like, well, the only way you can
Make money,
survive is
exactly.
being for-profit. And then you can decide where you're going to invest and where you're going to give charitable contributions. But
Exactly,
the first thing
exactly.
is to be a successful company. How about that?
Yeah.
And so that took years. Then when we went public, you know, it was mentioned that we were the first African American company to go public. People, you know, in the Black community, is like, well, why would you sell to white people? Why would you be public? You know, why don't you keep it in the family? Well, going public is a way to raise money. It's a way in
Mm-hmm.
America that you raise capital.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do other things and you can grow your business. And we only sold like 20% of the company. You know, it wasn't a majority interest. So we had to educate our audience about that. Then, you know, 8 years later, we went private and stopped selling public shares. And then the community was like, well, why are you taking our shares away? And it's like, well, we think, you know, we can raise more money if we're private. Then we sold to Viacom. Why are you selling to this white company? So I think BET has been a real model of how the corporate system works and the capital systems,
Mm-hmm.
and how you can raise money, how you can be more successful and do different things. And so that's something we want to continue to pay attention to.
Oh, that,
And I think more people are looking at it. You know, we talk about the billionaires in
yeah.
Africa. We talk about, you know, how successful businesses are going. So, you know, it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I get you. We hold the same belief, but here it's more. It's, of course, as much as we want, it's also helping us to change the social, economic, and even the political landscape. Because in our ecosystem, and maybe in every ecosystem, in every nation, is the people with the money who make the decisions. And for a very long time in Africa, especially in Kenya, the people with the money have not been the most integral people with integrity. So we at Impact Africa Network, we're in the game of raising a generation of people that have the wealth, but also people who have certain values upheld, like integrity, and they care about people, things like that. That's the only way we see ourselves change in our society. So that's the only reason why we do what we do, is
Right.
to ensure that wealth is in the right hands of people who are capable leaders, especially in our political landscape.
Right.
So yeah,
And politics has gotten so expensive that,
exactly,
you know, most people that are doing it now are wealthy. They've made their money other places. They can't make it in politics, and it's hard
exactly,
to raise enough money.
exactly.
So, you know, even in the political system, wealth is important. So I just think as a community, we need to focus on it more. We need to have more of our own companies. We need to have jobs where you can get stock options, and, you know, just be proud to be able to create wealth.
Fantastic. I was reading an article by TechCrunch, and you had hinted at creating a tech investment fund. And in June this year, you did an investment to a company known as Brightline. So, are you looking at this as a long-term play in terms of investing in technology or technology-driven companies? As Miss Lee, how's that going to play?
Yeah, I thought that conference was off the record, so I was really surprised to
Oh,
see
when
it
you say it.
in print the next day.
Uh-huh.
But it's something we had talked about at Leading Women Define, how there are not enough Black women or Black people investing in technology companies. And one woman who runs a company called Sweeten, which is a company where you can hire an architect and redo your bathroom or your living room, whatever. She said she had raised $10 million for her company, which she said she got a lot of press because she was a Black woman. She said, but if I was a white male, I could have raised $100 million. And so the women in the room said, well, why didn't you come here? And she said, well, I didn't know this group of women existed. So out of that, we said, well, maybe we should get together and start a fund. So it's something we're still talking about. Funds are tricky and they take a lot of work. But, you know, it's since companies and wealthy individuals are talking more about investing in Black women, it may be something we're able to do.
Would you be looking at the African market? That would be interesting because
Sure.
that would be very interesting.
I came to Zambia maybe 5 years ago. Bloomberg had a media conference and invited me to come speak. And everyone in the room was like, why are you here? Are you thinking about investing in Africa? And at the time I had just left BET, so I wasn't really, didn't have my whole thought process ready yet. But I was like, yeah, maybe. And so entrepreneurs at the conference were pitching me ideas, and it was really fun. So yeah, I wouldn't say that's out of the question. So maybe.
Well, we can talk about that in the side room. We are in that business. We're in the ecosystem right at the middle, and it's something we're doing in that direction as well. I think our time is fast moving on our end. I don't think we have any audience questions so far, but if you'd like to ask a question, there's still time for you to ask. Interact with us on our Twitter handle, which is iNetwork Tweets, and you can use the hashtag #PowerToWomen or hashtag Women Lead. A bit of final questions here, Miss Lee. What are some of the things that you'd like to be remembered for? What was most proud accomplishment so far while you were at BT and even at Monarchs now?
Well, I would say I do a lot of thinking about my legacy because I'm getting to that age.
Yeah.
There's so many things I'm proud of at BET, but one of the proudest is that I really instituted the original programming strategy. Before me, BET was primarily a music video show, and that's how we grew, and that's how we became successful, because music videos are free. But when I took over, I could hear it from our audience. They really wanted sitcoms, they wanted dramas, they wanted movies, they wanted award shows. So I invested in those areas. And, they wanted BET to be a real network. They wanted us to look like ABC, CBS, or whatever, BBC. So that's what I'm proud of. The Game was one of the first original shows we did, then Being Mary Jane. And there are a slew of others that came behind that. I created Black Girls Rock with Beverly Bond, the originator of that. We produced the show, BET Honors, BET Awards. I wanted young people to see that there were other opportunities other than just music and sports. So we would show Dr. Keith Black, a brain surgeon, or Ken Chenault, who used to be CEO of American Express. And these shows became very popular. Families would watch them together, especially the BET Awards. It was the highest rated show for award show for a while. And it was fun to compete with our sister networks like MTV and VH1. And so I think more than anything, I want to be known for creating original quality programming that showed Black people in an authentic way.
Oh, fantastic.
And I think I achieved that. And then I would like to be remembered as someone who hired people of color and gave them opportunities that they wouldn't have at other networks, and really allowed them to soar. So that was a fun part of my job, hiring young people and watching them prove that we were just as good as anyone else. BET was 95% run by Black Americans, and we were just as good as anyone else. So that was exciting also.
Fantastic. I have a question for you on that line, but we'll take a 1-minute break because I can see we have audience questions. Then we'll come back and take audience questions and we can wrap it up. Thank you for interacting with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First and foremost, just being a woman at IAN is an empowering thing. When I was coming in, there wasn't that feeling that I am disadvantaged by being a woman in this particular place. And that first and foremost is a good thing. But then also I've watched even the men at IAN rally behind the Power to Women initiative that is designed to inspire the next generation of female leaders. And that in itself is just mind-blowingly inspiring, I'd say. And so I feel like the women are at the heart of IAN. We are just as equally trusted with projects as the men are, and I love it.
That's a bit more about us. I like showcasing what the women are doing at Impact Africa Network. Right now, we'll take in guest questions from Miss Lee. And our first question to you from one of the viewers is, what are your thoughts on allyship, both in bridging the gender gap as well as ending systemic racism?
Well, I think allyship is very important. We can't do it alone, whether it's in the boardroom or at a company. We have to have people that believe in us and will support us, even if they're not women or they're not people of color. I have a good friend who started a co-working space in LA, and it's called Blackbird, and it's for women of color and their allies. And I think that's so important. So it's not excluding anyone, but you have to have the right mindset to come in. If you're a white male, you got to be supportive of Black women, or it's not going to work. And I think that's something we just have to focus on. And with BET for a long time, our audience thought it was only for Black people, and it's not. We want everyone, at least when I was there, we wanted everyone to watch because people love Black music and, the kind of shows we were watching. And it used to warm my heart when a white person would walk up to me and say, I watched the New Edition story and it was fabulous. So allyship is really important. And especially in the boardroom, if you're one Black person in a boardroom, you can't vote in the majority with just yourself. You got to get people to vote with you. And it's important to talk to people during breaks or in between meetings and say, I'm really committed to diversity, but if everyone else is not committed to it, we're not going to make much headway here. So I think allyship is really important.
Fantastic. Second question from one of the fellows at Impact Africa Network, Damaris, and she asks, as someone who has transitioned in different leadership roles, how have you learned to adjust working with different talents, seeing that each role came with new responsibility or demands? Which is very interesting, actually. I'd like to hear that. Yeah.
Let me think about that for a minute. In a television network or cable network, you have different talents, and you need different people to accomplish and to work as a team. So you have the creative folks who may come up with the programming ideas, you have the talent, but you also have the financial folks and the people in the legal department and the people in the ratings department. We need to know how the shows did last night so we know what to keep on, what to take off. So I think I've always been good with working with different backgrounds and different skills. Now I've had other executives who work for me who have not been as good. So the creative people might not understand why they have to report every number to the financial department. And I know I used to give that advice to some of my executives, is you have to understand what different people need in terms of being successful and how we all work together to make this company successful. When I was at a law firm with 200 people, we all had the same interests. We were all lawyers. We knew we had to research the law. So it was a big adjustment for me to go from a 200-person law firm to being the only attorney at a company. But I learned how to do that. I learned how to help people, not have them think that I was a roadblock, and kept them from doing their work. If they needed a show to be on tonight, I would work the hours to get it on. And I think that's important too. When you work as a team, you have to help people do their job so they'll help you do your job, and everyone will be successful.
Final question here from the audience, from someone known as Ndichu Andrew, and he says, he repeats the fact that you recently invested in Brightline and you've been at the forefront of the young people's mental health. What gave you the courage to actually put your money where your mouth is?
Well, I had a very tragic thing happened in my family. My 31-year-old son in 2020 committed suicide, and it was in the middle of COVID. It was in the middle of Black Lives Matter, and we had no idea he had mental health issues. He just seemed like the happiest, most well-adjusted guy you ever want to know. He loved music. He was a DJ. He found talent. He was in A&R. And so that experience made me realize just how important mental health is for our young people. And COVID has exacerbated the issue so much. And I think we'll be dealing with these issues for a long time to come. People are isolated, young people had to go back home with their parents. I don't know what I would have done if I was in college and had to go back home to my parents. I was so happy to be in college. Or people isolated from their friends, the people, extroverts who need that kind of excitement and social environment. And I liked, when I heard about Brightline, I was very excited about them because they're a company that focuses on pediatric mental health and provides insurance for parents through their companies. So I didn't know this, but a lot of companies don't cover children of their employees. They cover their employees if they have mental health issues, but they don't cover the children of their employees. But Brightline does. So they're out there trying to sell to as many companies as they can. So our young people get the help they need at a very young age. So I'm very excited about that investment. And I hope we all focus on mental health. It's something, again, it's been a stigma too long in the Black community. People don't say they need to talk to someone.
That's true.
Or have their companies know they've talked to someone. But mental health is very important.
Fantastic. That was close home. Sorry about that happened to you and your family, but thank you so much, Miss Lee, for making this time to talk to us. This was very, I must say, I think I feel privileged to have hosted you in the first place with all the wealth of experience that you carry and everything that you stand for. That's a privilege because it's something that I also stand for in my own little way that I can when it comes to women and them accessing opportunities where their potential can be seen. And that's something that Impact Africa stands for. So this brings us to the end of our show. To our viewers, thank you for staying with us. I just wanted to remind you that Impact Africa Network is a non-profit startup studio in Nairobi, committing to changing the African narrative. And we firmly believe that women are critically important in this mission. We are committed to providing women leadership opportunities in the startups we develop, and we are living that out right now. And if you may want to support us, you can join our microdonations program for as little as $30 a month and be part of this exciting movement working towards creating a new African future. Thank you so much for having us, and this is goodbye.
Thank you.
First and foremost, just being a woman at IAN is an empowering thing. When I was coming in, there wasn't that feeling that I am disadvantaged by being a woman in this particular place. And that first and foremost is a good thing. But then also I've watched even the men at IAN rally behind the Power to Our Women initiative that is designed to inspire the next generation of female leaders. And that in itself is just mind-blowingly inspiring, I'd say. And so I feel like the women are at the heart of IAN. We are just as equally trusted with projects as the men are, and I love it.